your administration, on behalf of the board, has asked for management assistance, and we've given you this. And the process we would see go something like this. Your assistant superintendent of special education now takes the leadership role on this study. She pulls together the folks that are involved, all the people, representatives from the staff, representatives from the administration, from business, possibly a board member, and bring everyone together in a collaborative effort to look at this, and then come back and give reports to the board, but not to engage the board in the decision-making process, in the detail of it. That's why you hire your administration to do that, to bring it back to you. You have a lot of work to do, a matrix, a process to determine, out of the culture of Mount Diablo, what do you want to do and what don't you want to do? The great superintendent in Clovis Unified, Terry Bradley, and the assistant superintendent, Bill McGuire, they always had the debate, and many of you know these folks. They would say, we don't have enough money to do everything. What is the priority to do the most important things? And that's what the board will do. What is our priority? And you will set the direction, and the administration will implement it. So the process is something like this. You've got the report. Now what do we do with it? You have an assistant superintendent. We've seen in past practices. She takes this and she puts together all the stakeholders and gets them together and listens to the voices of everyone in a collaborative, respectful, transparent manner that comes out with recommendations and findings. Is it feasible? Do we want to do it? We don't want to do it? This is the cost involved. This is how we go about it, and they bring back in 3 months or 6 months, whatever the pleasure of the board is a report on what kind of progress we're making. And then we have folks in the audience like we have tonight. They come forward and say, I may not agree with everything you're doing, but I have a voice. I've been heard. I've been listened to. I've been respected. And that's what I think the board really wants, is that kind of mutual respect spread throughout the community and trust. So we have this study that we went through. We were here. As typical in our work, we have to come back and modify things and redo things, and in a very transparent way to try to get the record straight, to try to get the best product for you. And we have some districts take our reports and they implement them. We have some that says, it was good, but I think we may use this, we may not use that. This will be at the discretion of this district on what you want to use and don't. But we did compare you with single district SELPAs. We didn't look at multi-district SELPAs. We have Joanne Murphy here tonight from Poway Unified, who is a single district SELPA and one of the premier single district SELPA directors in California. We had other people on the team that come from that background, so they know exactly when we're talking about the role of the district administrator and the role of the SELPA. We've got it. We understand those roles and the dynamics of the local plan and the governance structure. And it's complex. We have limited resources and many challenges to serve our kids, and we do the best. I was a school psychologist at one time, and I worked with many parents and have a great feeling for what we have to do together to educate some of the challenges we have. And we do that. And all great schools have great parent involvement. You've got a great CAC. It was so impressive to hear what they have to present. And we think taking this to this next level, from the direction of the board and the superintendent to your staff, go to work. It is now time to go to work and not talk and not put people off, but to go to work, to look at this, to build on this. This is a platform to build on. This is the beginning. So we found everyone very professional, very open here. We found people who are dedicated to kids, hardworking, working extra hours. But again, our model is a deficit model. You know the great work that you do. We come in report after report after report to say the things from an external and independent perspective that maybe some people wouldn't say, and the challenge you have before you to make some of the decisions you need to make. So with that, Joanne Murphy is going to go through the report. You have it, but she's not going to read it, but she's going to go through some highlights for you and answer any questions the board may have. But it has been again, it's impressive to see the engagement of staff and parents and community to be involved in the process. And I know just what I've been hearing tonight. I'm sure that the board and the administration is going to develop a network, a collaborative approach to work with everyone to develop what you want to do in this educational delivery system for special education kids. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you and good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come and address the board and the public on the FCMAT report. After almost 38 years in special education, there are some things I know that are fundamentally true and will always be true. And that is that we are underfunded, always have been underfunded, and continue to be underfunded. So the fact that there is encroachment on the general unrestricted fund is a fact of life that school districts all over California and all over the nation, in fact, have to deal with. The current fiscal crisis in California, though, has forced districts to take a look at special education in ways that they have never done before. And as a result of that, within the past 3 years, FCMAT has done over 60 special education reports. And the reports follow the same basic theme, and they have the same basic set of questions from superintendents and boards. Not that we don't all recognize the fact that we do have encroachment, unfortunately, because we're underfunded. But their question is, are we providing more than the basic level of service that is required by the federal and state laws? And they just simply want to know the answer to that. If in fact you do exceed in some areas, the districts have requested to know that information. And if you don't, they also want to know that too. The second thing is they frequently want to compare or benchmark against other districts of comparable size, of comparable makeup, single districts versus multi-district SELPAs, and so on, or single district SELPAs. So in your case, in the initial meetings with the superintendent, he talked about the encroachment of special education on the unrestricted general fund. Those of us in special education like to call that general fund support instead of encroachment. It's such a terrible word and has such a negative connotation, but I think we all know that what it is. So it is general fund support that is necessary. And the concern is that in your district, it continues to grow each year. And that from 2009 to the 9-10 school year to 2011-12, that encroachment increased by $3.5 million. And the current second interim, at the time that we did this report, showed that the encroachment was 48%. And I want to clarify something on that. That's 48% with transportation. And many times when you're doing comparisons with other districts, they don't always include the cost of transportation in. So you always need to ask, when you're doing a comparison, is transportation in or out of that figure? But School Services of California has put out some basic averages for school districts across the state. So this is an accumulation of all the districts across the state. And that average is between 25 and 35%, while Mount Diablo's is 48%. So we understood the concern. FCMAT makes recommendations in this report that would decrease special education encroachment by $4.2 million, while continuing to meet your state and federal requirements for students with disabilities. Now, there was a question about maintenance of effort and whether or not you could make these kinds of reductions and fulfill your requirements for maintenance of effort. And the answer is that yes, you could, because two of the areas where you have the three test questions, two of those areas have to do with moving students back to least restrictive environments in district programs as opposed to non-public schools. And then secondly, not using non-public agency staff and using district hired staff. So those would be two rationales that would be appropriate.